Jerusalem is a city of contradictions. For thousands of years, it's been a source of holiness and conflict, inspiration and struggle. One of the most iconic images of the city was, and still is, the walls that surround it. Today, we take you on a tour of the northern walls of Jerusalem's Old City, from the Jaffa Gate to the Damascus Gate.
One of the elements of this wall, as we walk over here, we can see how narrow the wall is. One of the reasons that allowed it to be built so fast, 4 kilometers in 4 years of this wall, is built because of using already cut stones. They basically recycled stones that they had from previous buildings. And another reason is that they build it on historical existing walls from previous times.
The Jaffa Gate is the main entrance today to the Old City. In the 16th century, Suleiman the Magnificent, ruler of the Ottoman Empire, decided to build a wall around the city of Jerusalem. It took him only 4 years to build. The main reason was that he used recycled stones and didn't carve new ones. On the front of the gates, we can see some fascinating engravings.
The Jaffa Gate is the gate leading to Jaffa, the port city of Jerusalem. When we walk inside the gate, we actually see a sign, a dedication sign, and in that sign in Arabic, it says, there's no God but Allah, and instead of the traditional saying, and Muhammad is Allah's prophet, it says Abraham, El-Khalil, is God's friend. That's Abraham. From here, the road to Hebron also starts. So 2 main roads leading to this gate, from west Jaffa and from south Hebron, are leading to the city. So that's welcoming to the city. This is a protection element, a monumental protection element of the city, but it's also a financial center.
The Ottomans built the wall for several purposes, the main one being protection from intruders. For that reason, choosing the right location was crucial.
We're standing on the gate's tower. This is the location that allows us to understand why this place is chosen by Suleiman the Magnificent. We're standing in one of the highest places in the city, just outside the hill where the fortress was built on. So the highest position in the city allows us to protect the city, allows the control of the roads coming here, and of course it allows also an access to the city from the south, from Hebron, and from the west, from the port city of Jaffa, which enables the trade and everything that comes into the city through here.
This narrow wall was dangerous for the Turkish guards who protected the city. Instead of wearing armor and helmets, they wore light outfits to avoid accidents. The wall also contains some architectural elements to assist the guards.
Okay, another element that we see here are these steps. When we realize the guards walking on these walls, pretty narrow, pretty scary at night. These guards were always light, but they still need to carry ammunition, water, food, all their needs as they walk here on the walls. We notice that these steps are uneven. They're not the same width, they're not the same height. One of the reasons is to keep the guards alert. If they miss a step, imagine what happens if they'll fall. If they miss the width of the path, they'll fall down the wall. There were no guardrails in ancient times.
Only from above can we see how dense and narrow the Old City of Jerusalem is, a highly significant site for all the Abrahamic religions. The city is divided into 4 quarters: Jewish, Christian, Muslim, and Aramaic. The reason for this division is quite surprising.
The division historically goes back to the earthquake of 1033. After the earthquake of 1033 that destroyed the walls of the city, the Fatimids, the rulers of the city, give a generous offer. Any group that will rebuild the walls in their area will actually get ownership over that area. In this specific area behind me, the Christian quarter, the money arrives from Emperor Monomachos. He gives a donation. It takes about 10-15 years, and once the walls are built, this becomes the Christian quarter.
In 1948, the city was divided between Israel and Jordan. The old city walls had become the border between the 2 rival countries. From 1948 until the city was captured by Israel in the 1967 war, the situation there was highly tense and complicated.
The Jordanians sitting over here on these walls are controlling East Jerusalem, including the old city. Just outside of the walls, in that direction, we're looking into Israel, pre-1967, and between the 2 lines is the no man's land, an area that was between the 2 countries. Every action in this no man's land needs an interference of the UN. Several stories that we know from these 19 years between Israel and Jordan are a story of the balls that were kicked out of this yard from the school, from the high school, find their way, some of the balls find their way to the no man's land. That takes an international involvement of the UN, allowing military forces to go into the no man's land and rescue some of these balls as a Christmas gift.
The Muslim quarter is no less impressive. One of the interesting features we see from the top is the Kizan.
Kizan basically is built on the principle of the air flowing in and cooling on the other side. It also allows privacy on the same hand. So in hot countries over here, the people living in the house behind us can walk around on their roof or in a private area, be separated or sheltered from the environment, yet keep cool weather. To even add that, you can add cold or pour some water, wet the element, the kizan, and that even cools it off. So it's kind of a natural air conditioning system that goes back many, many years. And here it's beautiful that we can see it just as we walk by the wall.
The Damascus Gate is perhaps the most impressive gate in Jerusalem's wall. It is also the most complicated and troubled one. In recent years, it has become a target for terror attacks. But looking from above, we get to see a very different view of this gate.
We're standing on top of Damascus Gate. Damascus Gate in recent years has become a symbol for friction, for violence. But as we stand up here, we actually get to look inside the city from above, from a higher point. We get to see the beauty of the city. We see the mix, the vibrant markets, the sounds, the smells, the tops of the churches, synagogues, and mosques, all facing to heaven, kind of bringing us a peaceful mix from up here that we don't get to see, the prayers joining together in one city with all the people that are within the walls. And that's a beautiful view that we get of the city from up here, as I said, giving us a different sound, more unique, more special, I would say, than what we would hear from outside.
As we descend the steps from Damascus Gate, another wonder takes us by surprise. The Ottoman walls of Jerusalem were the last in a series of walls in the city, a tradition that was started by the Canaanites during the Bronze Age. In 133 CE, years after the destruction of the city during the Great Jewish Revolt of the year 70, and a few years after the Bar Kokhba revolt, Roman Emperor Hadrian decided to build a Roman city here and call it Aela Capitolina. The remains of this city can be found in a site called the Roman Plaza, situated beneath the Damascus Gate. The gate is also mentioned in the famous Madaba map of the Byzantine era.
The map of Madaba is the earliest map of Jerusalem. It's dated to the 6th century, and what we see in the map is a Roman layout of the city, which is then used as a Byzantine city, Christianity taking over. We see in the center of the map the Church of the Holy Sepulchre built on the main street of the city, the corridor running from south to north. In fact, there's 2 corridor streets in this map, and it's a storytelling map. It tells us a certain story of a Byzantine city, 6th century, before the Temple Mount is rebuilt in the early Islamic period. We get to see the city at that point. We see the walls that were built in the Byzantine period, those walls that eventually were destroyed, and on top of them, the new walls were built. What we see also in the map is Damascus Gate. When we focus on Damascus Gate, it has several names to it. In Hebrew, we would refer to this as Sha'ar Shechem, the gate to Nablus. That's a more local city. In English, Damascus Gate, but in Arabic, the name of the gate is Bab el-Amud, the gate of the pillar. When you walk around today in Damascus Gate, or the pillar of the gate's pillar, you don't see any pillar in the area. But when you step down to this level of the Roman period, you actually get to see the plaza, the Roman layout, and this is where that pillar was found that we see here in the map.
We end our tour walking out the Damascus Gate, where we see 2 entrances to the Holy City, side by side, which represents 2 different eras.
From this angle, standing outside Damascus Gate, we actually get to see the full story. We get to see 2,000 years of history here in Jerusalem, from the Roman gate, part of the Victory Arch, or the freestanding arch that was here welcoming the people to Aela Capitolina. This is a much larger gate, much more monumental. When you enter Damascus Gate, you actually turn a double 90-degree angle. This is where the work begins. The building of the walls and spreads to both sides, to west and to the east, and eventually the wall is built all around the city. But starting from this point, we can see how much was invested here.
The biblical book of Isaiah says, I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem, which shall never hold their peace day nor night. Ye that make mention of the Lord, keep not silence. Thousands of years later, this statement seems more relevant than ever.